Emily always had a plan. At 34 years old, she had built a solid career as a marketing executive, something she had dreamed of since college. Her apartment in the city center, modern and stylish, reflected the freedom and control she felt over her life. She had loyal friends, a network of respectful colleagues, and a routine that, though demanding, gave her satisfaction. Motherhood, though it had been in her future plans, seemed distant, an idea she could explore when she was more settled, more mature. But life has its own plans. When Sophie, her best friend of many years, was diagnosed with a rare and incurable illness, everything started to crumble. Sophie wasn't just a friend, she was like a sister. Emily had shared with Sophie the struggles of her childhood, the joys of her youth, the anxieties of being a woman, and more recently, the fear of facing a lonely future. Now, in that hospital bed, Sophie had looked at her with fragile but deep eyes and made her a promise. Emily was to take care of Ava, her 4-year-old daughter, in case anything happened. Ava's father had never been present in the girl's life, and Sophie's family was distant and uninterested. Sophie's death was a brutal blow. Emily was devastated, but she knew she had a responsibility that transcended the pain of loss. Ava needed her, and she needed to be strong for Sophie. It wasn't a choice, it was a duty. She made the decision to adopt Ava, not only because it was Sophie's wish but because there was already something deeper between her and the girl, an inexplicable connection that drove her to care for Ava as if she were her own child. However, her family's reaction was harsh and immediate. When Emily told her parents about her decision, her father didn't hide his disappointment. "You have a brilliant career, Emily, and now you're going to throw it all away for a child who isn't even yours," he said, his voice deep and full of reproach. Her mother, always so concerned with image and family perfection, watched her with a distant gaze. "This isn't going to end well," she muttered, shaking her head. Emily felt like she was breaking something fragile and precious, but she wouldn't back down. She knew she was doing the right thing, even if it was hard, even if the world around her didn't understand. In the first months after Sophie's death, Emily threw herself into motherhood. Although the love for Ava was genuine and overwhelming, the physical and emotional exhaustion of being a single mother was immense. She felt a deep fatigue, as if she were constantly in survival mode. Mornings were rushed, days were a marathon, and nights, often, were solitary. Amid the chaos of adjustment, Emily tried to keep her professional life on track, but with every meeting and every email sent, she felt the weight of her maternal responsibility dragging like a shadow. Ava needed more than she could give, and while Emily tried to be everything the girl needed, she felt lost in her own emptiness. Then, months later, the phone rang. It was Ryan. She recognized his voice immediately, but something in his tone made her alert. Ryan, Sophie's best friend, had always been a steady presence, but distant. He was a history teacher at a high school, living a quiet life away from the family complications Emily faced. When he started talking, his words dropped heavy like stones. "Emily, I don't know how to start. Daniel died. My best friend, Daniel. He had a car accident." Emily felt the air leave her. Daniel was one of Ryan's few friends, and someone she remembered fondly. But the impact wasn't just his loss. Ryan, slowly, shared that Daniel had been the father of a 6-year-old girl named Lily. And Lily's situation was even more complicated than Ava's. Her mother had long struggled with substance abuse, and Lily's father, just like Ava's, had never been present. Now, with Daniel's death, Ryan had been named Lily's guardian, something he didn't know how to begin. Emily was deeply surprised, but something in Ryan's voice made her feel that he needed her. He was lost in an emotional whirlpool between the grief of losing his friend and the weight of responsibility for a child he barely knew. She knew he wasn't asking for help, but she couldn't ignore that Lily needed someone. And Ryan, though willing to do the right thing, was on the edge of an emotional collapse. I don't know how to take care of her, Emily. I don't know how to be a father to a girl who doesn't even know my name. I don't know if I'm ready for this." She heard what Ryan wasn't saying. He wasn't just afraid of failing as a father, but also of failing in memory of his friend, who, despite his issues, had always loved Lily deeply. Emily took a deep breath. She knew his pain was similar to hers. She too had known what it was like to be thrust into the role of caring for a child who wasn't hers, and it had consumed her in every little detail of daily life. Overcoming, she knew, only came when one accepted the pain and allowed room for mistakes, for new beginnings. "I'll help you, Ryan," she said firmly. "I've been where you are now. I'll support you, from start to finish." Over time, Ryan allowed himself to accept Emily's help. They started meeting regularly to discuss how he could get closer to Lily, what he could do to make her feel safer, more comfortable. Emily helped Ryan understand that fatherhood didn't mean having all the answers, but being present, being a constant support. Lily, although scared and distrustful, began to warm up to Ryan slowly but visibly. She, just like Ava, was simply trying to understand what it meant to have an adult who loved her. Emily's situation, however, was no different. She still found herself struggling to balance her career and motherhood. Ava, with her boundless energy, needed more attention every day, and it was a challenge that seemed never-ending. But seeing Ryan slowly connect with Lily, Emily found a new source of strength. She remembered how motherhood had transformed her, how she, over time, had learned to trust her instincts and, more importantly, allow herself to fail and start over when necessary. She understood that Ryan needed the same process. One particularly difficult afternoon, Ryan looked at Emily and said, with a tired but sincere smile, "You were right. I didn't know, but I needed someone to show me the way. I can't do this alone. And maybe I don't have to." It was as if the pain he carried had begun to be shared. The two had helped each other in ways they hadn't imagined. Emily understood, in that moment, that true strength wasn't in how she could do everything alone, but in accepting that, even in the greatest challenges, she had friends, and now Ryan was more than a friend. He was part of her journey. Together, they were building a new reality for Lily and Ava, two girls who, in different ways, needed their love and care to grow. Months later, when Ryan had finally stabilized as a father and found a new balance in his life, he and Emily sat together, with the girls playing in the garden. They both knew that the road ahead would still be difficult, but they were ready for it. They had learned, in the hardest way, that overcoming didn't happen when things became easy. It happened when one learned to live with the pain and responsibility, when one chose not to give up. And it was there, in that peaceful moment, surrounded by the laughter of the children, that they both knew they were no longer alone.